Are we good? We're going to call to order the City of Spencer regular joint city council and utility authority meeting. Today is Thursday, May 20th, 2021. The time now is 7:07 p.m. Can I get a roll call, please?
Trustee Councilmember Kennedy. Trustee Councilmember Fair.
Present.
Trustee Councilmember Williams.
Present.
Trustee Councilmember, Vice Chairman Scanlon.
Here.
Chairman Mayor Calvin.
Here. We do have a quorum present. Item number 3 on our agenda is invocation and flag salute. I'll give us our invocation and Mr. Scanlon will lead us in our flag salute. Let's stand. Let's pray. Father, we come to you this evening just thank you once again for allowing us to see this day. Father, we ask that you just continue to watch over and guide us as we come into this meeting. We ask that this meeting be done decently and in order. We ask that you ask a blessing for those in attendance and those that could not make it for whatever reason. Father, we ask that you just continue to let us do the things that's going to make this city be the best that it can be. Sit up on the hill, shining with its bright shining light, providing guidance to everyone. We ask that we do everything in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to your flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Councilman Kennedy is involved with the meeting at Common Service. He emailed me requesting continuance. I told her the only thing I can do is pass that along. It would take immediate action in this board. Something like that. So, having said that,
So, Mayor,
Yes.
that being said, considering that Ms. Kennedy, Councilman Kennedy is not here, and what I hear from the attorney, from our attorney, is that she feels that she didn't get due notification. I too am concerned about the irregular notification. I was not notified, or I did not find out until late this afternoon when I had to make my call myself here to find out that this was an in-person meeting. So the issue is that we have a lot of citizens that really, if I didn't know and I'm on the council, then my goodness, a lot of our residents do not know. The things that we want to discuss today are quite important. The work that you have already done. So it is, I would like to make a motion that we postpone this meeting, save for any housekeeping things that need to be done, such as anything dealing with our pay that needs to be handled that cannot wait until we can give equity of notice to everyone.
In response to that, notice was given to council through email. Everyone was emailed the agenda within the 48 hours of posting. And so with that being said, proper notice was given to every council member, but it's up to the council, but notice was given. So
can I make one comment to that,
yes,
Mayor? According to Municipal League, they sent out items that said that once the governor had lifted the ban on the Zoom meetings, there was a 30-day period after which that then the meetings were to resume. Having gone through that course and also received that bulletin from them, the expectation was that we would have an in-person meeting in June and we would have the Zoom meeting. Because even though we received the agenda, which I believe is a normal part of processes, it in itself, considering the situations with COVID and the year-long meeting on Zoom, combined with the fact that we got that information from the municipal league, I had no notification. So if we look at these as extenuating circumstances, we can say that notification was not given. I did not receive due notification. Because receipt of the document itself does not, in effect, means that I have, you know what I'm saying, right?
Well, this is the deal. Every council member will receive the notification at the same time because we're all in the same email stream. So I respect what you're saying, but we also, during the course of COVID, have also come in person. So this is not our first in-person meeting during this campaign. So this is not an unusual circumstance. We have had an in-person meeting before. So having said that, it's not an irregularity.
I understand, and I'm not.
And I respect the fact that Ms. Canday would have liked to be here, but with that being the case, our meetings are scheduled every third Thursday of the month. And so with that, I understand that she would have liked to be here, and with the things that are on this agenda, it needed to be a in-person meeting anyway because of the things that we need to do. But like I said, if there's a motion and a second and we want to vote on it, that's fine. But if not, we
Has not been seconded.
right. So
Has not been seconded.
That's fine, but I believe it was still in discussion.
right. So
Am I correct?
So if there's a motion and I think there needs to be.
Yeah, I go ahead, it's fine. Ms. Williams, I see the merits of your point, and I'm a little bit torn. However, all the council members did receive the email several days ago. And it was just clearly stated on the agenda where the meeting would be held. And that's really my own point.
Council, and it was posted outside, and that's where we normally post meetings. It was
So-
posted.
And on the city website.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
I still would like for the record it to be noted that, that I disagree wholeheartedly with us moving forward, and that I believe it's unconscionable that we would not even consider what's going on here. I am a new council member, however, I'm not new to statutes, ordinance, and how these things need to run. We need to also, and I will speak this, we also need to consider Councilwoman Kennedy, because she did notify in enough time, and the city had up until 7 o'clock last night to grant her that option to attend this meeting in a Zoom or on phone. I do believe it's quite unconscionable for us as is starting out in this term to not give equity and consideration to everyone here.
Mr. Vincent, what is the law about being in person versus Zoom? I mean,
Well, you still can do a Zoom meeting to the end of this month. If you're going to do a Zoom meeting, the agenda has to be posted with notice that it will be a Zoom meeting. And every person, every councilman has to be indicated on the agenda whether they'll be there in person or whether they will be there by Zoom. So it's still possible until the end of this month to have a Zoom meeting, but it has to be listed on the agenda as a Zoom meeting, and it has to be listed properly as a Zoom meeting. Like I said, every single councilman, you have to say whether they're going to be in person, whether they're going to be by Zoom. So at this point, if you didn't say anything about Zoom, so there's absolutely no way you can have this meeting as a Zoom meeting.
I don't think that's what I understand, Councilor, thank you for that. I'm not asking that we make this a Zoom meeting. I hope that my sentiments have not escaped us, because I spoke to someone and they were aware that we were in person. I just found out, and that by way of my contacting the city hall and confirming it, if we're having in-person meeting. I don't understand it's not a matter of semantics, actually.
Go ahead.
did you receive your agenda?
I received the agenda.
Okay, and the agenda specifically, if I'm not correct, Mr. Vincent, the agenda specifically has to say that we're having a Zoom meeting.
It does, if you're gonna do a Zoom meeting, it specifically has to say it will be Zoom. It doesn't,
Very well. Going forward, just note that, again, that is an indication of inequity and consideration for us. And we as a council need to be aware of that if we're to move forward for our citizens. That's why I ran.
Thank you. Okay. All right, moving on. Item number 4 on our agenda is not the nomination of council mayor and vice mayor. And we'll take a nomination for mayor first.
I nominate Frank Calvin for mayor.
We got a motion, can we have a second or another?
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second, can we get a vote, please?
Trustee Councilmember Fair,
Yes.
Trustee Councilmember Williams,
No.
Vice Chairman Vice Mayor Scanlon,
Yes.
Chairman Mayor Calvin.
Yes. Okay, we'll take a nomination for vice mayor.
I would like to nominate Jim Scanlon as vice mayor.
Can I get a second? And I'll second that. Can we get a vote? I got a motion and a second. Can we get a vote, please?
Trustee Councilmember Fair,
Yes.
Trustee Councilmember Williams,
No.
Vice Chairman Vice Mayor Scanlon,
Yes.
Mayor Calvin.
Yes. Okay, item number 5 on our agenda is citizens desiring to be heard. And we have one person, and that person is Deanna, Tubby, yes. This is Ms. Tubby. If not, I don't think she's here. Okay, we'll move on. Item number 6 is any new business. I don't believe we have any new business. Item number 7, our consent docket. We have 7.1, approval ratification of the joint city council and utility authority meeting minutes from April 15, 2021. Item number 7.2, approval ratification of the April 2021 biweekly payroll and accounts payable. 7.3 is approval ratification of the interlocal mutual aid agreement between the city of Dale City and the city of Spencer. 7.4 is approval ratification of contract with the city of Midway City for jail services agreement. 7.5 is approval ratification of contract with the city of Midway City for animal welfare agreement. And 7.6 is approval ratification of contract with firefighters agreement.
Mayor, are we taking them separately? Is this consent to put them all in one?
What happens is if it's all one unless you want to.
Oh, is there a question about it?
Yeah, unless you have a question about the one of the items, then we'll review.
Yes, I'm looking at that. I have a question concerning the animal welfare division agreement. Is this a continual agreement? In other words, is this something that has been going on
most of the, but with this one, yes, this is, we entered into a new, agreement with them from the city. And with most of these are just yearly, things that we authorize. But we can remove it if you need to.
No, I just have a question for clarity. One question, it says that the agreement for the services that the city is going to provide is from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday. My question is, what's going to happen from, 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. And on Sunday, 24 hours? Do we have a plan for that?
I make a motion, we, pull item 7.5 from the consent docket and move it to agenda item 8 for discussion.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Okay.
Are you looking to me for clarification?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the consent docket with the exception of 7.5, which was moved.
We got a motion from the second, please.
Trustee Councilmember Fair.
Yeah.
I'll
She
second.
said, okay, I'm sorry.
Trustee Councilmember Fair.
Yes.
Trustee Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Stanley.
Yes.
Chairman Mayor Calvin.
Yes. Okay, item number 8, discussion, consideration, and possible action on items removed from the consent document. That was 7.5, approval ratification of contract with the city of Midwood City for animal welfare agreement.
We'll do a question regarding 7.6, contract for the firefighters agreement as well. We will do Oh, just go on and ask my question. Okay, the question concerning the firefighters, as I look through that, one of the benefits they were giving them a birthday day. I just want to know how that sets out, if we're paying them for time on their birthday, and it says that it is going to be as if a work day that we're paying them.
It's considered a personal day off. It's normally how it's put in the contract.
But the context of it specific to say birthday.
And then, I guess, it would be a personal day, but that day would be almost considered, that their day would be a personal day off. They're given the right to take that day off as a personal day.
Okay, so then can we change the language of it to reflect that and other than saying, we can change the language? We're stuck with this?
The firefighters agreement has to be negotiated with the union.
Right.
And so if you want to change any kind of language whatsoever, that has to be negotiated with the union. So, it's, I guess I'd have to say it's a little late at this point in time to try to go back in and renegotiate. We've got an agreement. If we were to just say, no, we don't want to sign this agreement, we want to negotiate this thing, it could cause, conceivably cause the contract to not fail, and then have to go to arbitration, and then we're talking about spending a heck of a lot more money than this little perfect option city. And so at this point in time, if you want to change something like that, I'll probably have to look towards next year, by the way. To do it, I mean,
I understand.
this union negotiation was really smooth, it's really kind of rolling over. And we're saving probably lots and lots of money trying to, not having to go through a big hassle. Negotiate the contract, and tell you, union contracts can be very expensive.
Very expensive,
Very expensive.
Right,
And
exactly.
if you can't agree, then go to arbitration, that's extremely expensive.
But should it go to arbitration? If this is just we're talking about a word, I'm just talking about, I'm looking at it from a perspective
I'm
of,
not saying, I'm just saying, to change one word has to be negotiated.
okay, but the changing of one word does not change the entire contract. I know there are parts of the contract that says that, if the whole is, am I right, if the whole is good, then this variance does not actually, knock out the contract, it doesn't cancel it. I'm just looking from a perspective of our city as I look at this, and you all are saying that it is like a personal day. So I mean, if it's like a personal day, can we not call it a personal day? Just for clarity, I'm just asking, because I read the contract, so I'm trying to understand the benefits that we're affording them.
The bottom line is, I don't know what we're regarding, and I'm thinking about that.
They may say, heck yeah, it's a personal day, we're still gonna take it.
And they said, fine and dandy with us.
Right. I'm just asking to consider it.
So we can't make that change on our own.
Right.
We agree to it.
I understand, thank you for that clarity.
All right, back to 7.5, which we took off the consent docs, which was approval ratification of contract for the Navy City for the animal welfare. I think the question came after I was split with them.
For small animals, we have a small shelter that's located behind the police station. For larger animals, our part-time animal welfare officer will take them to his property until they can find, tag, or dispose the following Monday.
Thank you.
We've done a really good job.
Thank you.
I'm sure somebody did. All right, any other questions?
No questions at this point, thank you.
Just a comment that it's very expensive to do West City. And there's been talk in the past about Spencer Jones, maybe Luther, other small towns getting together and creating their own shelter complex. I know that's not gonna happen now, but I do believe it's something we should look into in the future.
We'll take a motion on 7.5.
I make a motion, we approve item 7.5.
Second, please. I'll second. And get roll, please.
Trustee Councilmember Fair.
Yes.
Trustee Councilmember Wood.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Vice Mayor Scanlon.
Yes.
Chairman Mayor Kelly.
Yes. Yeah, let's, just so that we can, kind of keep our people on track, we do have a full agenda. Let's move to, item number, we'll table item number 9.1 and 9.2 because they go together. Let's move to item 9.3, project consultant update. Mr. Long, are you ready?
9.3?
Yes, sir.
Let me get 9.3. Jim, while we're looking at 9.3,
On the back of your page.
can you jump from the laptop to the TV?
And it's not even plugged in.
Yeah.
So, all right, this is. Oh, man. Hello? And can you hear me? Okay, John?
Okay.
I'm representing me in Oklahoma City. Gotta look at it.
Ask her if she has something else on her end. Does she have a phone and a tablet maybe?
Ma'am, turn on the, speaker on your computer.
Yeah, I'm using the speaker on the computer. I'm wondering if maybe you could use.
No, I mean, stop it, just use your telephone.
I'm hearing like every other word.
I know, if you would just, leave the Zoom meeting, please, and then we'll be back to start.
Okay, I'm out.
All right, you're live, we can hear you.
Okay,
Okay, so, can we start from the beginning then?
yes, if you don't mind, please.
Okay, sure. I'm putting you on speaker, okay. I'm pleased to present the financial statement audit, for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2020. The entities we audited were the City of Spencer and the Spencer Utilities Authority. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of these financial statements on a modified cash basis to the county, including determining that this basis is appropriate for the city's reporting. This includes the design, implementation, and maintenance of internal control relevant to the preparation and fair presentation of financial statements that are prematerial in the statement, whether due to fraud or error. We had 4 opinion units: governmental activities, business type activities, and each major fund, which included the general fund and the Spencer Utilities Authority Fund. Our responsibility is to provide an opinion as to the fair presentation of the financial statements in keeping with the modified cash basis of the county, as described in your footnote 1B of your financial statements. And I'm pleased to say that our opinion was unmodified, which is a clean opinion for all 4 opinion units. There were no changes in the financial statement presentation. There was a significant estimate associated with the useful life of capital assets. It's based on historical experience as well as practice by similar entities. For financial highlights of your financial statements, the city's total net position at the government-wide level increased by $150,923. The city as a whole showed a net position of $900, and I'm looking at page 12 of the financial statement if you have them now. It showed a net position of $987,168, which included $716,045 in capital assets net of related debt, and $521,828 deposited in trust accounts for debt service. After subtracting these amounts, the city had a total deficit, unrestricted position of $250,705. During the year, the city's expenses for governmental activities were $1,442,422 and were funded by program revenues of $290,327 and further funded with taxes and other general revenues and transfers that totaled $1,162,196. This information is on page 13 of the financial statements. In the city's business type activities, such as, in other words, the utility authority, the program expenses, in other words, the amount that was billed for utilities exceeded program revenues by $57,680. In June 30th, 2020, the general fund reported a deficit fund balance of $39,175. For budgetary reporting purposes, the general fund reported revenues and transfers less than estimates of $69,705 or 4.2%, while expenditures and transfers were under the final appropriations by approximately $161,559 or 9.8%. In addition to our report on the and our opinion on the financial statements, we also are required by government auditing standards to also look at your internal control for purposes of designing our testing over the financial statements, and not for the purpose of providing an opinion on internal control. So, given that, we did, when we go through and do our testing to support the material presentation of the financial statements, if something comes to our attention, we are required to inform you of that. And we did have some findings on related to internal control, and it's internal control and compliance. We continue to have difficulties with the financial system. There were adjustments to cash that were made at the end of the year. Bank reconciliations were not done timely during the year, and it was difficult for the contract accountant to identify the source of the discrepancies in the financial statement, in the general ledger versus the bank statements, and consequently made some arbitrary adjustments to different accounts to correct cash. And when we looked at the system, we were not able to, we saw some items consistently not being recorded, as well as some other items that we weren't able to reconcile back to the bank transactions. So we had findings related to that. There was a compliance finding related to the deficit fund balance in the general fund, which is not permitted by Oklahoma statutes. We also noted in the utility areas that cutoff procedures were not being evenly and consistently enforced, and actually were relaxed in April 2020 due to the COVID mitigation efforts, and had not yet been reinstated as of our field work in February of 2021. In addition, we saw that there was inadequate segregation of duties, in that one individual could, in some areas would have responsibility for custody of assets, record keeping for those assets, and reconciliation of the asset accounts. And recommended that the city look at some segregation in that respect. We also noted that there was continued difficulties in the control over citations. When we did a small random sample, we noted that I believe it was 7 out of 20 they were not able to produce, when looking for citations in a sequential manner. And they're not accounting for missing tickets, and there were several other issues associated with citations that was identified in our report. In addition, we've got a compliance issue with the collateralization of uninsured deposits, and the city now is in a position where their pooled funds have exceeded the FDIC insurance level of $250,000 for all accounts under one entity. And since you have pooled cash, your main operating cash is pooled. It's not separated by entity, so it's just one $250,000 FDIC insurance level that you would have for all city accounts that are at a single bank. And you exceeded that in the current year, and we recommended that you look into asking the bank to collateralize those uninsured deposits, or move some of your funds to another bank, whichever you prefer, that works the best for you. So with that concludes my report. With that being said, are there any questions?
Council? I don't have any.
No, I know that Ms. Jackson has seen your recommendations, we'll follow up on that.
I have questions if you will.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
I'm just getting to look at this, to no fault of anyone to move here. So am I to understand that we are operating at a net loss?
No.
We're not operating at a net loss, right? Okay.
No, no. Ms. Elfrink?
It means that you have a deficit fund balance. So if you look at your assets minus your liabilities exceeded your assets. So you had, and if you look at it on an unrestricted basis, in other words, the city did not have working capital. And it's also not permitted. A municipality, or an Oklahoma government for that matter, is not, permitted to commit funds or spend funds in excess of the amount that they have appropriated and on hand. And that has happened. But if we look at this year, the COVID funds that you've received, et cetera, have greatly helped pull you out of that position. And bear in mind, when we're talking about a deficit fund position, we're also including the payroll taxes that are in arrears that are currently, that your attorney's working on settling with the Internal Revenue Service. But, so it was net of those amounts at that point in time.
What is that amount of payroll in arrears? If we have something, I know you said that they're working on something with that.
That's a negotiation, so, that's, and that we gotta, that's a negotiation,
So she can't answer that question?
no, because we don't know. We don't.
I can't call your attention to
She can call her attention.
note 5 of the financial statements on page 36.
Thank you.
The payroll tax arrears discussed. We don't have 100% of the information on that. I don't think anybody does at this point in time. I can tell you that the amount that we have accrued in the financial statements is $540,404. And, but when we looked at, and this was in September of 2019, so it's old, it's not the current information, but we looked at the letters that the Internal Revenue Service had sent. That total had come to $861,188. But the management is trying to get some of those penalties waived. And so that's why you don't have a final amount yet. You thought of about approximately $500,000 set aside in a trust account from the debt that you issued that will, go significantly towards eliminating those amounts. The amounts that we mentioned in the financial statements do not include the amounts that were due to the Oklahoma Employment Security Commission or the Oklahoma Tax Commission for Oklahoma tax withholding. So that amount that you have sitting in your trust account is a little less than what is accrued here. So there will be, we would expect to see some residual additional amount after that trust account is liquidated for that purpose. But until the IRS makes a final determination as to waiving interest and penalties, we won't have that final amount. But it's probably going to be somewhere in that range.
And what I was trying to say, as far as actual amount, we have tried to contact the IRS for, I guess it's almost 3 years now, and they have not, and we keep getting letters, 60 days from now, and that's been going on for 3 years now. So to say what it is.
Mayor,
Yeah.
if I might interject, all the taxes including workers' comp, other state payroll taxes, and state taxes, have all been paid and settled. The only thing that we're waiting on at this time is to get the final determination from the Internal Revenue Service on what that amount is going to be. And settlement, and what we are targeting is trying to get a reduction in the interest and penalties. And the lion's share of every bit of that is interest and penalties. So, as Ann mentioned, we have a little over $500,000 set aside specifically for that. And the minute that IRS notifies us that we can begin that negotiation process, and it's expedient for that to happen for us because there are a lot of programs that we're simply not eligible for
Because
of that issue. And we have been contacting them. As a matter of fact, right after the first of the year, we learned that IRS had totally shut down. They were responding to nothing coming in. And so we're going on 3 years trying to get an answer from them to pay them.
Right.
We want to pay them.
So that we can move forward, absolutely.
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 Yes.
So ostensibly, if we, she said that we can look for that trust account to be liquidated for purposes of making sure that we take care
Yes.
and hopefully get a great agreement
Yes.
with them in reducing our penalties and all the interest rates. Then my question is, where do we stand as a city then, purportedly?
Well, I'll give you a couple examples. First of all, she mentioned the collateralization
Right,
or the movement of funds.
right.
Those funds have been collateralized.
So
As a matter
that's
of fact, that was done just shortly after the first of the year, to make certain those funds are.
that they were covered by the FDIC.
Yes.
Right.
The other thing is that typically, from what I've seen, just to give you an example, for the last 2 years, I typically find that we run a cash carryover of about anywhere from $400,000 to $500,000. And that is just about every month. And I looked at the past 4 months. That's a solid number. That every month, after everything's paid for, that's what we end up with. The other thing that's really important, I think, to understand in all of this, she mentioned the issue of reconciliation.
Right.
I want to say to you, when I came here, the city had not reconciled in many years. And I'm not going to give the year, but I'm going to say in many years. And we discovered that reconciliations, keep in mind, the city contracts out our accounting. Okay, so it's really important to understand. We found some difficulties with what was happening, and that's why on your agenda, I believe it's the next item, we are requesting that we reverse Elfrink, who's handled the last 3 audits. When I came on board, we were 3 years behind. So within 1 year, we had 3 years of audits that had to be submitted to the state of Oklahoma. That was done in less than a year by Ann and her team. As we looked at the financial condition overall in trying to come to a place of strength financially, I made the determination and recommended to the council our best position, instead of having Ann come in once a year to do the audit, since we have changed our monthly accountant, let's have Ann do the monthly accounting and then bring in a firm that she has worked very close with to do the annual accounting. Ann and her team is intimately familiar with our finances, and as we've talked about this, and I think we all agree, for us to be in a premier position, we're off of life support. we're off of life support. We're moving toward rehab. And the real truth of the matter, for us to get our accounting systems lined up with our data processing systems and our financial management systems, that's where her and her team on a monthly basis will be an incredible value to us. And we believe within the next 3 to 4 years, you're probably going to be in the best financial position of any city of this size, at least within this area.
So, Mr. Long,
Yes,
question.
and I can add to that, we did a re-implementation of your accounting system. It's actually Ken Grayler in our office because we have to separate that function from the audit because we have this audit still going on. But he did a re-implementation of your accounting system. He worked very closely with staff and in the office. They were extremely cooperative and helpful to him, and they were on the phone daily, and also assisting in the review of the payroll system that was brought back in-house. And he had it such that the bank accounts were all reconciled and caught up for the current fiscal year by the end of March. And now he has it where he's going into your bank accounts. He has yearly access to your bank accounts, and he has complete online access to your financial system. And he is monitoring them on a weekly basis now, making corrections, and has that date reconciled and budget reports out that are reliable, like within a week to 10 days after the end of a month. And now that I'm no longer in an audit function, I'm overseeing and reviewing his work, and where there's discrepancies, I'm asking questions and asking that he refine it further. So we're still working on that, but we anticipate having a very quick audit, at the end of this year. Probably by August or September, you'll have an audit issued for this year.
Quick question, thank you for that, quick question. Concerning rudimentary accounting functions, are our staff being trained in that and knowledgeable in that? I hear that she said that they're working with them day to day, and I'm only thinking of, weaning the baby off the pacifier. So is that a possibility? What does that look like? And this is purely, I'm asking.
I'm sorry, I don't want to be talking over someone. It's hard for me to hear you guys completely, but I thought the question was, is the staff being trained there? And as of this last month, I had asked Ken, I said, we're caught up now. It's time to back off, such that he is just doing a review and reconciliation function. And we would also do your preparation for your audit, the accrual types of entries that have to be done at the end of the year, and prepare your financial statements. So basically, our intention is to train and assist the office personnel in being as independent as possible. And that's very much the direction that we want to go, and I'm overseeing that to try to assure that, and I know that Ms. Jackson is as well, to assure that they assume those responsibilities, and they're doing a fantastic job. I have to say, they're just being very, very attentive and alert and responsive, so we're not having any issues in that regard.
And let me just say that I'm not asking that question because of I foresee lack of potential in our staff. I've run through them, by them at small occasions, and they are as capable as anyone. I'm thinking just for going forward, just for the city, and moving and training forward as we grow and build. So just want to make it clear.
Just a real quick comment. One of the key components of bringing Dan into the monthly county world is the issue of sustainability. And I've got to be straight up with you. When I arrived on the scene, we had the worst turnover rate of any community that I've ever been involved in. There was not an area in this building where we had duty experts on board. I will tell you, within the last year, has been the highest level of stability that I've seen with our employees since I've been working with the community. And I'll tell you, I really compliment because they're hungry to learn. One of the problems when you bring new people on board, they have to have the training.
Right.
On our utility system, we did not even have a training component built into our utility system. Well, you do now. So you can't expect to bring people in here and just say, here, figure it out. Because we're dealing with some highly complex, very technical issues in municipal counting, and Ann will confirm this. Municipal counting is totally different than any other type of accounting, because you've got the feds involved, you've got the state involved, you've got audits involved. I've often said, even though you may have local issues, I will guarantee you your accounting and the accountability that you have to give on the finances of this city are higher than any entity, schools and cities, of any commercial entity.
I agree.
So sustainability was the key in my mind in stabilizing and starting us to move to a position of strength in our financial systems. And I know Ann's on the phone, and I tell you, I've worked with a lot of auditors over the years, and she's the best of the best, and has a true care and concern for this city to get us in a position of strength.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. L. Frank. We appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Sure,
All right,
my pleasure.
all right, thank you. I'll take a motion for 9.1 to approve the audit from L. Frank and Associates for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020.
I make a motion to approve agenda item 1.1.
Motion and a second, please. Second. Go ahead.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, vote please.
Trustee Councilmember Fair,
Yes.
trustee Councilmember Williams,
Abstain?
Vice Chairman Vice Chairman,
Yes.
Chairman Mayor Carroll.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, 3 years ago, we were in such dire straits. I mean, I don't know, it was just bad. We were talking bankruptcy, can we get a loan on the building, as collateral? All that's turned around now. And it just keeps going up. It's looking good.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay. All right. 9.2